I'd like to call the Fairfield County Council regular meeting to order, Winsboro, South Carolina, Monday, August 23rd, 2021 at 6 o'clock. Can we get approval of the agenda?
So move, Mr. Chairman. Second.
It's been moved and second. One of the things we want to do is, on items, on the ordinance resolution and orders, we're gonna delay item 6 to item C to after executive session, item D to after the, county administrator report. All in favor, let it be known by the word aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Let the record show 7-0. Now we have invocation by Councilman Roseborough.
Bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to encourage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that will affect the citizens of this county. We ask all these blessings in your name, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Now we're down to approval of minutes. We want to July 26, 2021 and August 9th, 2021 minutes.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
It's been moved and second that the minutes for those dates be approved. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. So let the minutes stand approved, 7-0. Now we're down to public presentations. Mr. Caller, we have.
Yes, sir. Tonight we have Miss Kathy Falk, who is the president of Hoof and Paw.
Mr. Chair, County Council, Mr. Administrator, hello. My name is Kathy Falk. I'm a resident of Fairfield County, and I'm also a member and president of the Hoof and Paw Benevolent Society, an animal welfare organization whose mission is to improve the quality of life for animals in South Carolina and advocate for their safety and well-being. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I want to address several serious concerns regarding animal welfare in our county. To give you a clearer understanding, let's start with some facts and numbers for this past fiscal year. Animals at the shelter in the beginning of the year, 155. Animals taken in during the year, cats, 848. Dogs, 636, miscellaneous other animals totaling 1,496, animals transferred out to nonprofit animal rescues, cats, 477, dogs, 524, other miscellaneous animals as well, adopted out, 75, animals that were dead on arrival, 9, sick animals that died in the shelter, 114, escaped from the shelter, 29, mostly cats, owner reclaims, only 101. Trap, neuter, release, 144, animals spayed and neutered, 743 dogs treated for heartworm disease, 41 at $350 each, a total of $14,350, all paid for by donations. Finances during the fiscal year. Heartworm treatment donations, $11,669. This is a preventable disease. Left untreated, the animals will die a very painful death, and it's very inexpensive to prevent. Medical donations, $94,410. County shelter fees that go back to the county, $32,284. I want to be clear that all of the above expenses are paid for by donations from fundraising organizations and individuals. How has the Fairfield County Animal Control progressed? In 2012, Fairfield County AC revenue report was $255 in donations and $8,764, total of $9,019. The euthanasia rate has gone from a 65% to 6%. This is a number to be very, very proud of. Keep in mind that all of these figures are during a COVID year, which is extremely impressive. Neglect and abuse is a huge problem in our county, as well as lack of owner responsibility. Keep in mind, it is the $110,000 for medical and heartworm treatment that cares for these animals and provides a chance for a forever loving home. Spay, neuter, heartworm prevention, and a rabies vaccination should all be a part of owner responsibility. It is unacceptable that every animal in our county is not vaccinated for rabies. This year, we had a rabid fox in Winsboro. Unvaccinated animals are a threat to people and other animals, and a public safety issue that should not be tolerated. So, how do we enforce these issues? One idea might be to budget $75,000 to hire an officer whose responsibility would be the enforcement of these ordinances and investigation of abuse and neglect cases. Apparently, we do not have the law enforcement presence needed to do so at this time. Dogs on chains, emaciated, heartworm positive, skin infected, injured, and some with embedded collars dragging a chain should not be accepted in today's society. I think you will agree that the above numbers are alarming and are public safety and community problem that we must address. Council should be commended for the recent update of our ordinances, but even with that, are our laws and ordinances adequate? We have a responsibility to the people and the animals in the community to make Fairfield County a good and safe place to live. I want to show you quickly some examples because I feel very strongly, Hoof and Paw feels very strongly that unless you have an idea of what's happening in the county, you have no feel for the magnitude of the problem. So this little dog right here was found, picked up. These are all cases, by the way, that are very recent. This little dog was picked up dragging this chain. She had a horribly embedded collar, which is the next picture that you will see, a terribly embedded collar. She's not emaciated, which tells me that she wasn't out on the streets for a very long time. She got this way in somebody's backyard before she broke free. The next one is a picture of a dog with an acid burn. And I wish I could say that these things are not common, but that's just not true. They are common. This is an acid burn. Somebody poured acid on this dog's back and then booted her out. The next picture is of a puppy, a sweet little tiny puppy. This was just last week, thrown in the trash, The next picture is the same puppy. She's fighting for her life right now. The next picture is of a street dog, a dog that was, out with mange, covered in mange, picked up as a stray. The next picture is of a female mama dog who was brought into the shelter, literally delivering her puppies in that filthy Tupperware container. The next picture, sadly, is a horse that we lost. We did not get to her in time. The animal shelter did not get to her in time, but they tried very hard. The next picture is, I'll leave you with a nice picture. This is an example of what our shelter does, the before and the after. So he came in like this on that horrible heavy chain, and there he is living his best life. So brings me to my next subject. Why do we need a new facility? FCAC currently operates out of 4 buildings. There are 3 electric bills and 3 water bills that operate them. This situation is not only not cost effective, but it's also very time consuming for employees. When the shelter is able to get a veterinarian to come in and provide spay-neuter surgeries, the conditions are less than adequate. There is no recovery area, so the animals waking up from surgery are on the floor next to the surgical table. Intake is a very depressing place. It is dark, not climate controlled, just fans, terrible drainage problems. It is something that you would see 50 years ago at best. We must do better for these animals. It is a reflection of our county. If the new facility was all under one roof, it would run in a more cost-effective way, and it would certainly be a more humane facility. It would provide much-needed space. With all of the owner surrenders, strays, abuse and neglect cases, animals are stacked on top of each other in the crates. This is unacceptable. Our one idea would also be that a low-cost vet clinic would be part of the shelter. Community members would hopefully be able to afford vet care at a very low cost. This will be a huge step in the right direction for Fairfield County. Our citizens should be able to have a pet and affordable care for the pet. Every animal that is abandoned or dumped must be supported by Fairfield County taxes, fundraisers like Hoof and Paw, and individuals who donate. We need to provide the community with the opportunity to make better choices. This would also cut down on many expenses such as spay-neuter, heartworm treatment, medical emergencies. The overpopulation in our county is out of control. Overbreeding and owner surrenders of females that have been bred, then discarded at the shelter, sometimes with their puppies in tow, must stop. This new facility and low-cost veterinarian care is the vision of our animal control officer, Mr. Bob Ennis, and supported by Hoof and Paw. We will continue to donate to this county as we always have towards spay-neuter, heartworm treatment, and medical emergencies. This year, Hoof and Paw will donate over $25,000 to Fairfield. I am sure we may be involved in fundraising efforts for a new facility. However, this is a county building that should be funded by the county. We all have wants for our county, but let me be very clear again, this is not a want. This is a critical need. I would like to request the following immediate needs. Number 1, to form an animal welfare committee to continue to discuss and solve these issues. Number 2, I would like to invite each of you to visit the animal shelter, including the intake building. I personally would be happy to meet each of you there. I will close with a quote from a new member of Hoof and Paw, Susan Todd. We all inhabit this planet, 4-legged and 2-legged. It is our responsibility as a community to eradicate animal neglect and abuse. We will be a better society because of it. Thank you so very much. Does anybody have any questions for me? I would be happy to answer them if I can.
First, I'd like to thank you for coming, Mr. Chair, if I may. I'd like to really thank you for coming. I had an opportunity to visit the animal shelter with you and to really see the situation of which you speak. And there's a lot that we need to do. And I think that that's something that, we need to take a look at as a council and as a county. I know that the low-cost vet clinic is one that's very needed. But the other part is, what's our situation with vets here in Fairfield County, and what's the future of the vets here?
That's a very good question, Ms. Green. We have two vets in Fairfield County, and they're kind of actually, well, one I think is near the town and one is near this building. And I think that one or both may be retiring soon. I'm not sure exactly when, but soon. And while they offer good care, they are not there all the time, and they can't offer shelter rates because, I mean, they're in private business, and so they can't. So for a lot of the people in Fairfield County, these services are just not affordable. And so, therefore, the animals don't get treated, they don't get spayed neutered. It is a vicious circle.
Okay. Ms. Falk, I really want to thank you for your presentation, and thank you for all the work you do, you and your organization. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And I think, Mr. Pauly, did you have a question?
What was the amount that you said that y'all contribute annually to the?
We contribute a little in excess of $25,000 this year is what we will contribute. And it's unclear what our final total will be because we do respond to medical emergencies. So we have a very set amount that we know that we have budgeted for, but we also respond to some of the medical emergencies as they arise and donate, more.
Okay, again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Was everybody able to see clearly these pictures? Because they speak volumes, and I'm happy to pass them around. Would y'all like for me to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you have any question about the pictures, please feel free to ask. We don't stand up here very often. We don't come very often. So thank you so much for hearing us and really looking at the information. And I want to, what are y'all's thoughts on a committee?
I think that that's an idea that, we'll have to research and really take a look at how we move forward on some of the suggestions that you've offered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, thank you. I think our time is, but thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we're down to public hearing. No, public comment session, what's it called? Ms. Roberts.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of council. We have one person who signed up to speak tonight. That's Randy Bright on Ordinance 777.
Randy Bright, District 1, Ridgeway. A few issues with the public ordinance. Number one, I approve and certainly agree with the movement forward of anything that can perhaps give the county some savings. And refinancing very well has the potential to do that. We'll say it should have been discussed because we've been aware of this for years now. It should have been discussed during the budget session so that we could properly ascertain the savings and properly budget for it. But nevertheless, moving forward with it. One huge caution I would have on this is I haven't seen anything on an intermediary third party that we're searching for to help us with this refinance plan and all the expertise that belongs to it. In the past, we've seemed to gravitate towards third parties that we haven't really researched or done our homework, and we've gotten in trouble for. And in fact, the very reason that we're having this anvil around our neck of $50 million or whatever it is because we didn't get good advice with FFC to begin with, if you recall. So please, let's do our homework. Let's research and not go to the nearest crony to help us with this refinance plan. Particularly a crony that was with us that got us in a tight spot where we're having to refinance this, the loan to begin with. Do your homework, do your research. I don't see anything on here that we've moved forward with the search committee to get requests for proposals to help us with this refinance plan. And while the plan itself, it's going to save us money, no doubt, because of the interest rates right now. But if we don't give good advice, if we pay exorbitant prices for this advice, then we're going to lose money that could go to other things, like animal shelter, for example. So please do your homework, do your research, and whatever you do, don't get burned again like you did with FFC. Not you guys, well, one of you, but like we did with FFC to begin with. Do your homework, do your research, and we can save money for the county. Thank you.
That concludes the public comment section.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Now we're down to public hearing number 7. Number A, an ordinance to make $1,050,000 supplemental appropriation for the 2021-2022 fiscal year for capital project to include community many parks on Overlook Road and Blackstock upgrades to Willie Lee Robinson Park and roof repairs to the DHS building. We're now going into this public hearing at 6:22. Ms. Roberts, do we have anybody to speak?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. We have 2 people signed up to speak, Thomas Armstrong and Randy Bright.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Thomas Armstrong. Most people know me as Tony. Some even know me as Telling Tony. But I come up tonight to address the spending of this proposed project here. $1,050,000 to some is nothing, but to a lot of us is a lot. The need of the roofing system in Fairfield County at the DSS building is obviously a need. The desire to improve parks is more so of a want, given the fact that we are faced with several huge budgeted items this budget year. I think that we need to hold off and be a little more frugal with the taxpayers' money. Realizing that on last meeting, the sheriff pretty much said he didn't want to go into the new building. We're looking at possibly spending to maintain 2 buildings, one for the sheriff and the other one for the administration building over on the old Mine Zion project, which continues to be a sinking hole, a money pit, if you will. $1,050,000 is just add on to the fact that at the beginning of the year, the budget year, we was broke. We continue to spend money foolishly, I would say. So I would definitely say that with all of the mining issues that we have coming into Fairfield County, I would like for someone to possibly put in an ordinance that would prevent require that these businesses have to come before council for approval. I also would like to ask you all that you all consider not moving forward with the Mine Zion project, as well as this $1,500,000. You know, recreation is a necessary need for our youth with all the obesity and all the other health situations that we face. But I believe that if we take and do something more indoor, because not every child want to play basketball, football, or tennis. Some kids enjoy reading, computers, and other different exercises that take place inside in our air-conditioned buildings. You know, during the time when we all came along, or most of y'all came along, there wasn't no air conditioning. So, you know, you had to do what you got. But now our kids, they have more, they're a little weaker, but we must continue to do what's right by our citizens. Instead of spending a lot of money on an outdoor facility. And I visit Willie Robertson's park every year, at least once a year during the Blair Day Parade. To the best of my knowledge, that's the only time it's really utilized mostly, unless you're having some form of private celebration. I don't know what much more you can do to it. You got the baseball field, and by no means am I suggesting that the people of Blair, nor the people of Blackstock, which is most of my family in Blackstock, don't deserve something. Or just make it worth their while, something that they have. Thank you very much.
Randy Bright, Ridgeway, District 1. I too have several problems with the ordinance that's involved in this hearing. The first is we've combined two wants with one need that should have been addressed during the budget situation, but nevertheless, it is still a need. But the other two, nevertheless, are two wants. So and we don't know how much we're spending for each, so it's really amateur hour, whoever wrote this ordinance. Because if you vote for it, you're voting for two wants, unnecessary wants, but if you don't vote for it, we've got a roof falling in. It just doesn't make sense, and we've got to do a much better job. And there's another one on this agenda that's not written correctly. But the big issue, as Tony pointed out, if we've got money for wants, what about needs first? And I'm talking about roads. Is everybody satisfied with the roads here? Yeah, that's not all county's responsibility, but a lot of it is. What about animal shelter? We've got needs all over the place, and we just talked about two. And yet we're throwing money away that we found after the budget, after the theatrics the physical sky is falling, and we lump them in with a very needed budget item so that is this nefarious? Is it just lazy? Or why is it worded this way where two wants are lumped in with one need? Is it to force a vote for the two wants? That's not a way to run a county. It should be separated. If we were courageous, we would vote no on this thing and go at it again, but separately, and get it done. And have 3 meetings in a row, whatever it takes to do it. But this does not make sense, putting wants before needs. As I said, we've got roads, we've got animal shelter, we've got a lot of needs, as Tony pointed out too, that should come way before wants. So take this money you're suddenly finding after the budget and put it towards wants way down the list and needs first. Thank you.
That concludes public hearings.
Okay, we'll now call this public session to close at 6:28. We're now down to item number 8, ordinance resolution and orders. Item A, third and the final reading of orders number 773 to make $1,050,000 supplemental appropriation for the 2021-22 fiscal year for capital projects to include community mini park on Overlook Road in Blackstock, upgrades to Willie Lee Robinson Park, and roof repairs to the DHHS building.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. Pauly.
Yeah, I think this is a total waste of money for the taxpayers of Fairfield County. We have so many other needs in the county that should be a bigger priority than a mini park. The roof on the DSS building was only added to this ordinance, so asking for the mini park and upgrades wouldn't look so bad to the taxpayers.
Any other discussion? Thank you. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay.
Nay.
Let the record show there's 4-3. Item B, first reading by title only, ordinance number 775 to approve the sale of certain parcels of land known as the hospital property and other related matters.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, let it be known, no discussion, title only. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Let the record show 7-0. This next item, as I told you in the beginning, we're gonna discuss this after executive session. Item D, we're gonna discuss this after the county administrator report. We're down to 12, new business. County administrator report. Mr. Caldwell.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. The first item is a scenic byway, scenic bypass letter of support. And Mr. Cal Harrison from the Piedmont Gateway State Scenic Byway Committee was asking for council's endorsement for the project, which is to protect and preserve the Anvil Rock and the historic Woodard Cemetery on South Carolina Highway 34. And I think everybody was sent a copy of the endorsement letter that will go out on behalf of council. So all we need is for council to approve that letter to go out.
Can we get a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Miss Diana Robinson, who is our WIOA director, and she is excited to plan a job fair that's coming up in October, and just wanted to share with council and the citizens about that event.
Good evening, Chairman Bell, members of council, administration, and the citizens of Fairfield County. I am Diana Robinson. I am the program director, and I also serve as an adult, dislocated, and youth case manager. My staff consists of 3 case managers, that is Alexian Abel and Kiara Jones, who's my youth case manager, and Latasha Wallington, who serves as my adult and dislocated worker. I come before you this evening to provide an update on the WIOA program and to also officially announce the Fairfield County Second Annual Job Fair. As of August 23rd, we have 81 active clients and 86 clients in follow-up. The difference between the two is a client in follow-up is an individual that's came through the program. We've provided them training, they are actively employed, and they are doing well in the workforce. Out of the 81 clients, we have 32 are adults, 6 are dislocated workers. Out of those 39, 22 are currently in training and 20 are working. We have 42 youth. 16 of them have successfully completed a youth work experience. That means employers out there, like Fairfield County, for example, has a youth come in, do a 6 or 10-week youth work experience, and they, successfully complete that. We update their resume, and some of them go off to college, or some of them go into the workforce. So we have currently 8 that are in training, 25 of them are employed, and 7 have went off to college. Out of these 81 clients, 68 have obtained occupational skills training, which is a 97% successful completion rate. Our performance measures are basically not measured by caseload or overhead. Our performance measures, which is mandated by the state, is done by the percentage of people who have successfully completed program requirements and are able to maintain employment. To be honest with you, I'm not interested in quantity. I can have 400 clients and 399 of them do not make it, or I can give you 200 and 199 make it. So occupational skills interests, we have CNA, CDL, patient care technician, welding, pharmacy tech, and dental assistant. A total visitors to JB Floyd, this is excluding the Veterans Affairs Office. We've had 832 individuals from May 22nd till today come and visit our office. 62% were for unemployment assistance, 41 for job search assistance, and 77 came to see the WIOA. Any questions on that? No. Okay. So now I go into officially announcing the Fairfield County Second Annual Job Fair. Let me talk briefly about last year's job fair. It kind of happened really suddenly. I think we got maybe about 3 weeks to try to create a job fair, which if any of you may not aware of, a job fair just consists of a lot of moving parts, a lot of different sponsors and partners. Thankfully, it went very well. We kicked it off on September 30th during the pandemic. So I thank a lot of people who played a key role in this. We had 3 different locations. So we had individuals in Midford, Jenkinsville, and in Winsboro. We didn't see a lot of individuals come and visit Midford and Jenkinsville. So this year we've decided to go ahead and just have it in one location. We had our first planning session on August the 16th, and 2 critical tasks were accomplished. First, we have a venue, and second, we have a date. So we also are excited to have our SC Works career coach, our green mobile bus. A green mobile bus is basically a resource center that you'll have for individuals who need to update their resumes or do anything related to the SC Works. You'll have that there as well. Sponsors, we have the Midlands Workforce Development Board, Department of Social Services, Department of Employment and Workforce, SC Works, America's Job Bank. Registrations were sent out last Friday for employers, and due to capacity and of course being safe, we've invited 15 employers. 7 so far have responded back accepting the invite. The registration deadline is going to be August the 31st. We are currently working on job flyers, so we'll be sending that to you. We want the job flyers, of course, to have QRC codes. The QRC codes will have where it has the driving directions. It will also have the list of employers, and we're also working with our transportation department, Ms. Diana White. And for any citizens, of course, in Jenkinsville or in other regions who cannot make it, that we'll be able to provide transportation. And more of that will be discussed at a later date. We have our second planning session that's going to take place on September the 1st, and that will be conducted via Zoom. We're kind of finalizing everything, making sure we have volunteers and things of that nature. And that's all I have on my end, unless you have any questions.
Don't have any questions, Ms. Robinson. One of the things I want to thank you for all the work you do. And also, Ms. Robinson did took part in a town hall we did in District 1, and we got a lot of good comments. One of the comments we gotten is maybe some of the other districts may want to invite her to present and talk about the things that she is doing, but more importantly, how they can receive help. Okay, as it's not, she presents a lot of information, but one of the things she brings forward is how people can go and get help from her agency, which I think is a really good thing. So I want to thank you for doing that. And the one more question is, are you looking just for Fairfield County employers?
Well, what we did this year is a lot of employers have gone to staffing agencies. So we've extended the invitation to the staffing agencies because, of course, employers may not be able to have their HR department come over there. So these staffing agencies such as Fairfield, Integrity Staffing, Recruiting Solutions, they have been invited. And what they do is they're going to they hire for several employers across the county. And they also do hire for employers outside of the county. You know, we have to be realistic. We can't, not every citizen wants to have a job in Fairfield, and that's okay. But the goal is for people to, you know, get off the unemployment and be able to come back into the workforce and be productive citizens again, because it's been a challenge. This pandemic and the continuation of this pandemic has been horrible for everybody. So we're there to offer services any way we can.
Thank you. One of the things is, and I hope I don't put you on the spot, Ms. G. We have Ms. G in the audience. I know a company that's currently trying to get employees, and maybe she can probably provide you with some names of a person that you might can contact. And,
Yeah, I have my business card available, and I'll be more than happy to speak to anyone that needs help. Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Ms. Ann Bass, our finance director, and she's going to provide us with an update just kind of on the American Rescue Plan, where we are with that. Ms. Roberts has some information that she's handing out for us. But as we've talked about several times, this is, we don't have a final rule yet. And there's lots of strings that are attached in terms of qualifying, reporting, and just a lot of stipulations that we have to meet in order to use these funds. So we just kind of wanted to give you guys an update where we are, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about the information that she's given you.
Good evening. What I've gave you is 3 sheets. If you want to flip first to the second page, this is an appendix out of one of the documents the U.S. Treasury has compiled, and this is on the reporting of the money. And it lists each of the categories, and then it lists like the sub-bullets where it kind of drills down a little more specific. So what we did internally is kind of look through these sub-bullets, think about projects that we, maybe things we had to cut out of our budget, maybe things that were on our horizon, and try to see what can we do, what needs we can accomplish that fit within these subcategories with this money. So on the front page is where I've broken that out, each section, and I tried to bullet out the subcategory so you could kind of follow it back there as well. Some of the big things, of course, we need some additional money for courthouse renovations. The health department roof, potentially, it does house a clinic, I think, that is a direct responder. EMS, they are working to start a program to have like a mobile paramedic to try to minimize non-emergent ambulance trips. And they've requested if there's a way they could get some money to help fund that program. Some of the negative economic impacts, and these are basically to try to get people back in the county, get energy back, get people spending money, basically. But a lot of that is in aid to tourism, travel, or hospitality. I know a lot of things with the Austin Trailhead, the farmers market kitchen, where we could, improve the food sale there of the local produce, the museum. Those are all things within our community, that generate tourism. They draw people from the outside in. We've been using a resource, the state was using a resource, and so we can also utilize that. And some of these where I've asked a question, I hadn't heard back, that's who I'm, working with. I have asked them about the mini parks. I've not received a response there. Also under this is rehiring public sector staff, and we had some positions that we did not fill this year. They were not filled at the time of the budget, and we just didn't fill them because we were not fully operating. And I think we could do the economic development assistant and maybe the recreation director, because as the pandemic nears to an end, both of those departments are going to be back up fully running.
Can I, not mean to cut you off, but can I
Sure.
ask you a question right there? Who typed up the front sheet?
I did.
Would law enforcement and fire personnel fit into that 2.14?
I think it fits in number 6.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Premium pay, of course, I think we may have talked about this a little bit last time, and that's where, looking back over the actual hours that any essential personnel worked physically at work, we could give an additional amount per hour they worked. And I think that's something that we certainly will qualify that we can do there. Infrastructure, wastewater treatment is one of the things that they've outlined from the start. So if there's money additional that we need in any kind of engineering or studying, I think that would certainly qualify. The revenue replacement is where, to the extent of our lost revenue, we can use for the provision of government services. And I just quoted that exactly out of the rule. It says government services can include, but are not limited to, maintenance or pay-go funding of building infrastructure, including roads, modernization of cybersecurity, including hardware, software, and protection of critical infrastructure, health services, environmental remediation, school or educational services, and the provision of police, fire, and other public safety services. And this is where I think we had to cut some bridges out. We've got some pretty heavy needs there, and our police, fire, and EMS vehicles and other equipment that we've not been able to fund. And then Section 7 is administrative. There will be, not probably, I'm sure there will be increased audit costs. Because it's federal money, it will be subject to a single audit, which we already have, but this is gonna double, maybe triple the level of that audit for us. The threshold of that $750,000 of federal revenue, and so, this is gonna be well above that. So I'm sure there will be additional costs there. And if we chose to use any kind of consultant or anything to guide us, of course, that can be used for this. Are there any questions there?
Now, when we take a look at the revenue replacement, I see governmental services. I know that there are people who've worked outside of police, fire, and EMS that worked during the entire pandemic. Are they eligible as well? Are you looking at the other departments too?
For premium
Or-
pay?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. We would be able to do that for any department. I think the way they worded it is anybody that worked, of course, on the job. It would not qualify if you worked from home. You would have to be physically working, interacting with the public, or handling items that were transferred from person to person. And I think that would cover any of our staff that was physically on site working. I think that covers. And that will be basically determining what we think that dollar amount should be, and then just going back and running hours reports to figure out what that would be for each individual.
What is your Section 3, services to disproportionately impacted communities?
A lot of those things, a lot of education assistance fell in there, and some things that we're just generally not in the business of doing. If we were to do any of that, I would say rather than us try to administer it, we would give it down to another entity. I don't know that we would want to try to administer that kind of thing.
Mhm. So those are things like rental assistance and that kind of stuff.
That some of the rental assistance and stuff like that is under number 2.
Okay.
And again, I think we would probably have to get, that would maybe even take a person to actually do that. We'd have to have somebody to manage that, because we're just currently not really in the business of doing that.
I see that's in the
And number 2.
in the
Yeah.
basically the youth and family services and those kinds of things more often. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Mhm. Are there any other
Do
questions?
you have a time frame when you know that we'll know for sure what applies and what don't apply?
Well, right now, they call it the interim final rule. What does that really mean? But they are, there had been a weekly call with NACO. That's kind of settled a little bit. I think they're going to have one the end of this week to discuss, because our first report is due August 31st. I think they're going to have something to kind of give some guidance on that. But most everything that I've participated in, and I've relied heavily on the NACO information. There's a lot out there, but that seems to be, for me, the most credible source is NACO. And that's who the Association of Counties is aligning with, our South Carolina Association of Counties. They have kind of said, slow down, don't get in a hurry, do it right. You've got till 2024 to encumber the money. I think if it's clear, I think we're okay, but if it ventures into any of those gray areas, I think we would be wise to step slowly.
Yeah.
Any other questions? The last slide I included, this was a slide just straight out of one of the webinars I participated in, and it kind of just lists a good planning structure, I think. Researching and finding out, utilizing a consultant if you need to, assessing what our needs are, that sort of thing. And I think from my perspective, and I think, you know, Brad and I have talked, I feel like we need to have like a mini budget work session. We need to really develop this. We need to adopt it, you know, put it in place and move forward.
Thank you.
Else? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bass.
All right, to the last item, item D. As a part of the Dominion settlement, the county will receive 7.5 million to be utilized in the manner to be determined most favorable by the county council to offset, reimburse, or reduce payments due on the bonds. After evaluating these options, administration is strongly recommending to reduce future bond payments by refinancing the current bond debt. As you will see, the savings generated over the life of the new refinancing plan will be significant. Tonight, we have Mr. Brent Robertson from Stifel Investment Services and Mr. Ray Jones from Parker Poe are with us to give us an overview of this plan.
Good evening, members of council. I'm Brent Robertson with Stifel Nicholas. That's all right. Y'all should have in front of you I don't know if it's this size, but it's a chart that shows, that's it, the estimated refinancing and what that looks like in terms of benefit to the county under current market conditions. So just to set the table a little bit, in 2000 and,
A little bigger.
is that all right? Okay. So in 2013, the county entered into a financing agreement with the Fairfield Facilities Corporation and issued installment purchase revenue bonds. Those bonds have been outstanding for the last 8 years. The county's been servicing the debt, paying it in full and on time. Since the issuance of that debt, and as we have progressed throughout the last 8 years, where we find ourselves is in a very favorable interest rate environment, very low interest rates relative to where they have been historically. The real where the stars are aligning here is the timing of the settlement that the county has with Dominion, this $7.5 million payment. So very simply, what we're looking at here is in this table to the left, you see these annual payment dates are laid out, and they run from September of 2022 through September of 2042. And they're running on average about $1.66 million a year. That's the existing debt service. So if the county does nothing at this point, and just kept these bonds as they were, that's what the debt would look like every single year. We're talking about doing, and I'm now jumping up to the top of the page here, looking at this Dominion settlement. This $7,550,000, that's the portion of the settlement as it relates to the bonds. And so what we're looking at in this plan of finance is taking that $7,550,000 and using it to pay off bonds, taking those bonds out of circulation so that the county is no longer paying interest cost on them. And at the same time, combining that with a refinancing of the existing debt or the remaining debt after cash defeasing $7.5 million. The net impact is what you see. And now I'm jumping back to the table at the left again, and I'm going to the column that says estimated debt service after refinancing. The combined effect of that cash defeasance of $7.5 million from the settlement and then refinancing the remaining portion of bonds outstanding brings our debt service down to about $1,150,000 a year. That's annual savings that runs just above $500,000. I'm in the blue box now. $500,000 a year through the final maturity of 2042. It does not extend the existing debt, so we're staying within our existing payment term. The total savings over time is $10.5 million. And the way that we got there is we take the $7.5 million, we cash defease bonds, we take those bonds out of circulation so that they're no longer interest cost bearing. And the county would be paying those, that goes away, and refinancing for savings the remaining bonds that didn't get cash defeased. That's how you get to $10.5 million over time. And in terms of cost of funds, the county's cost of funds right now sits at about 3.81%. Under current market conditions would drop to 2.56%. So that's a reduction in interest cost of 33%. So this is the plan of refinance that we've looked at We believe it's very easily executable under current market conditions. It is subject to change. It could get better, could get worse. But we feel like these market conditions could hold through the time it would take to get this transaction completed.
Mr. Robinson, one of the things just for people, I guess, knowledge is too, is that Dominion gave us the 7.5 million upfront. And because they give us the 7.5 million upfront, you're able to do this.
Correct. It's the combined effect of the 7.5 million upfront from Dominion. Again, cash defeasing existing bonds with that money, and then refinancing the amount of bonds that's left over to a lower interest cost.
Yes, sir, Mr. Paul.
What's the, and you might not know, but what's the total balance on the bonds as of today?
So the total amount of bonds that are part of the plan of refinance is $22,205,000. So that's what we're looking at here in terms of this plan of refinance, this savings you're seeing here. It's $22,205,000 that would be affected by it.
But that's not the total amount that we owe, correct?
The total amount of bonds outstanding presently is $23,835,000. There's a portion of those bonds. So if you look at the table, again, I'm going off to the left here. It's actually not showing on the screen. If you look at the table on the left, you see the savings in the first 2 years is $404,000, not 515 or 510. Those 2 years are non-callable bonds. What I've done is I've taken those bonds out of the analysis because typically they don't provide cost savings by doing that. So that's why there's a little bit of a difference between the amount of bonds that are actually outstanding and the amount of bonds that are part of the plan of refinance. Now, if interest rates are favorable, we might be able to scoop in those two non-callable bonds and have it make sense. But this is a more conservative approach to looking at it. But sir, in answer to your question, the amount of bonds outstanding is presently $23,835,000.
Any questions for council?
Yeah, my next question would be, once you reduce this debt, what does that do for the debt millage for the taxpayers?
So I think that's probably a conversation that you all have sometime down the road. It could be maybe the next budget cycle. What we're looking at here is a reduction in cost of debt service, and how you all use that cost savings is at your discretion. But what we're trying to do with this is set the table for options. You know, how you might use that refinancing or that lower cost per year. Again, subject to y'all's discretion.
Any other questions? Again, this is a big deal. It's savings to the county. You know, took the money into $7.5 million and turned it into $10.5 million. So this is a good deal. So do we, are there any other questions? If not, I want to thank you, Mr. Robinson, for your time and thank you.
Thank you, council members.
Okay, we're gonna go back to item D on the agenda. First reading by title only, ordinance number 777, modifying the installment plan of finance, authorizing the execution of certain documents with the Fairfield Facilities Corporation and other related matters. Can we get a motion to approve?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Since it's title only, no discussion. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Let the record show 7-0. We down to clerk to council. Report none. County council time.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have received several calls and emails from citizens opposing the Luckstone Quarry. In a recent email from a citizen, it was stated that a quarry is totally inconsistent with the county's goals and principles stated in the 2021 comprehensive plan. There are several things that concern me with any quarry, but one in particular is the health of our citizens. It has been stated that it causes cancer, damage to lungs, kidneys and autoimmune system, severe skin burns, and serious eye damage. I think we as a council need to make sure that we are looking out for the best interests and health of our citizens. I've been told that we could have at least 3 quarries going on at the same time in the near future. Chairman, I would like to see in the future that we change the zoning to reflect that any future quarries would have to come before council first.
Thank you. Ms. Gilbert.
I would like to make a recommendation that we should have an official letter from our chair addressed to the DHEC for the board supporting our citizens' concerns on luck.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? I think as individuals, some of us have written letters to Luck Mine, to DHEC concerning Luck Mine, but any other comments? County Council time. If nothing else, executive session. Number, can we get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and second that we go into executive session. Receipt of legal advice, contractual matter, discussion of possible relocation of the sheriff department pursuant to South Carolina code. Item B, receipt of legal advice, discussion concerning the sale of Winter Hill property pursuant to South Carolina code. And I need to add another item, that's to receive legal advice concerning, and it just brought to me, just before council meeting at, concerning, Norfolk Railroad. So can we, any discussion? If none, all in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Let the record show 7-0. We're going into executive session at 7:03. Um, can we get a motion to, come out of executive session?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second, no action taken in executive session. Any other discussion? All in favor coming out of executive session?
Aye.
Any opposed is nay. Okay, is there anything else in council?
Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Okay, it's been motioned to adjourn. Can we get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second that we stand in adjournment. All in favor say to be aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. Now stand adjourned.